Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Marquis Custom Cables. So these two cables are from Marquis Custom Cables made by this gentleman whose name is Marco, and as I understand he's based out of Australia. So this is one cable he sent me. These are beautiful pink cables and this pretty standard looking copper cable. And a shout out in particular to Marco for bearing with me as this took a while to reach me, because I think from what I recall he did send them to my US address first, and then for whatever reason it bounced. So then he ended up sending it to my Asian address, and then it took a bit of time to get to me, and I've been very busy with work, so this review took a long time. With that out of the way, guys, so cables are something that I think are highly divisive in the hobby, and I think almost everyone and his mother has an opinion on cables. Either people who swear by cables and people who say that yes, it makes a 2% difference, but it is an indelible, significant difference that cables make, and hence people who buy into expensive cables, live and die by cables. I even know people who have more expensive cables than IMs, and people who have culled their IM collection to buy more expensive cables. So cables can get expensive, and the super expensive cable manufacturers like PW Audio of Hong Kong, like Effect Audio of Singapore, Elatech of Singapore, these guys do make a lot of money. They have a lot of business. Every time a new cable comes out in the $3,000-$4,000 range, they sell out like hot cakes. So there's a market for these guys. These are rich guys, like a lot of you watching, who are smart guys who are buying into this because, they're smart. They're not idiots, so they do perceive a difference. If you don't perceive a difference in sound presentation because of cables, all power to you. Cables are complex, I'll give you that. So there's a reason for a debate or debates that tend to happen in the sort of, cable believer versus disbeliever sort of, camps. Sometimes higher end cables do not make a difference. Sometimes lower end cables sound better than higher end cables, but cables do and can affect the sound. Okay, so that's just a bit of a sort of, a disclaimer as to where I come from. In front of me are 4 different cables of very different price point. This is PW Audio's cable. It's called the First Times non-shielding cable. It is not their most expensive cable at all. It goes for $2,500 if you buy this new, and roughly $1,300 to $1,500 if you buy this used from Headfi. Now, this cable is special. I pair it with my Krypton 5. The Krypton 5 of the wrong source can be aggressive. This tames the Krypton 5 and makes it quite nice. In fact, I've talked about this in a previous review. With this cable and with these tips, I do feel the KR5 becomes like a more polished version of the Legend Evos. Very slammy, impactful, resolving, great stage, great clarity, etc. It's a great IM, especially with this cable. This cable's sort of features are that it has mid-bass warmth, it has body, it has thickness, and it just softens the sound a bit. This cable has a sound, guys. Okay, now this cable, so this was $2,500. This is $200. This is from an Indian manufacturer, and this used to go for higher prices, but now I think he sells them for around $200, and it's a very cheap cable. But from what I understand, he sources his silver. This is a pure silver cable. He sources his silver from the same factories which apparently supply to the best and highest end manufacturers in the business. So what I've come to realize that this $200 cable sounds fantastic, and I like the pairing of the XT6 here with this cable more than I do with this $2,500 PW Audio cable. This is insane because this is 12 times the price, but I prefer this cable, guys. Now, you still might want this cable because of its, other than the sonic properties, it looks nicer, it feels nicer, it's got better connectors, more sturdy connectors, it's more ergonomic. This is fairly ergonomic. I don't think it looks bad, but then with some of the less expensive manufacturers of cables, you can have inconsistent sort of, finishing with, how this plastic tubing is finished, or how this heat shrink looks, whether it looks jaggedy or smooth, and even how these connectors are, right? Because sometimes you can end up with connectors that are too thick, and they can damage your IM. So there are reasons, to buy cables from reputable, high quality manufacturers, guys. don't just cheap out on cables is what I'm saying. Cables don't cost a whole lot to make, but too many things can go wrong with poor cables. They can damage your IMs. So with that second set of disclaimers out of the way, I just wanted to say that I'm a hugely in like with these cables from Marco. This basic copper cable is, it's just a basic copper cable. It's a 6N 25 AWG OCC copper Litz. The one I have is about 1.25 meters standard length. So yeah, I mean, it's got fairly supple ergonomics. It's got decent skin feel. It's got great sound. It doesn't do much to the sound, I think. It doesn't hold back the sound of your IEMs. It's a thin cable. It doesn't look premium, but it's a fairly priced cable. You can buy this for $170, which I think is a decent price, given how expensive cables get these days. So this is $170. I liked it for what it's worth. This is his higher end cable. It's a hybrid. It's a silver and copper hybrid. It's 22 AWG. It's got full copper connectors at source and the earpieces. And it's slightly more expensive. This is around $400 guys. But I find this braiding very beautiful. This sort of plastic translucent sort of see-through aesthetics are, I think, quite gorgeous. I mean, if they're too Barbie for you, then, it is what it is. But I really like this color, and I think they're very pretty. And I find them fairly ergonomic. And in terms of ergonomics, he doesn't give you heat shrings around the earpieces, but it's still fine. It's still light enough and, at the same time thick enough and supple enough that you can coil it around your ears. So these do stay in my ears. And sonically, I did find them slightly brighter than the copper cable in the sense that the TI Trio of different cables sounds different. Like with the PW Audio cable, I feel like I don't perceive its treble peaks as much. However, with Marco's cable, I feel like it's a more transparent listening experience. So the way I would describe the sonic profile of this cable is that it's fairly transparent, and it does reveal a lot of details, a lot of nuances. Has got decent stage. I don't perceive any extra warmth at all. So transparent is how I would describe it, but it's a very tight sounding cable in terms of the bass presentation. The bass sounds tight, sounds pretty fast. The TI Trio slams like I know it can. So overall, this $400 cable is something I would strongly recommend. Very impressive cable, guys. So that's it for me. I have other cable reviews coming up, guys. Cables are an important part of the hobby where people are spending thousands of dollars, so I do think they deserve attention. Of course, even tips make a difference, and at some point I want to make a video about tips as well. So that's it for me, guys. I hope this review was useful. Marco's Custom Cables. I'll leave a link to his website and his Instagram page in case you want to order from him. Sajid, I'm signing out, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye-bye.